Hey guys, welcome to the Stock Pot, the SP, because we're your highest rarity in Weiss content. We just had an absolute bombshell land in competitive Weiss.
Really? What could possibly that be, Jake?
On Friday, the whatever it
It was
was,
Saturday
on Saturday morning, whatever it was, thanks Jason.
at 3 a.m.
Yeah, close enough.
Weiss has updated the English ban and restriction list.
Yeah, they were cooking.
Effective after Thanksgiving.
So the most recent ban and restricted list will go into effect on November 24th, 2023, with the following bans and restrictions. For Sword Art Online, the Alice 2-1 that can be early played off the Brainstormer has now been limited to up to 2 copies. For That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, there is a choice restriction between Shizu, the level 1 gate combo, and Murin, the level 2 gate combo. And for Seven Deadly Sins, they rewrote their wrongs, and they finally made the restriction between Gil Thunder, the 3-2 that bounces a card to hand and looks at top 3, and Escanor, the finisher that deals 1 of X, as well as they gave us an unban for Mushoku Tensei. And they lifted the restriction between the Rudy tap counter and the 2-2 Ghislaine. So we have a lot more to look forward to after the ban goes, the restriction goes into effect starting November 24th, 2023.
Yeah, so there's like a good chunk to talk about, most because how much this might change the meta, what we really think is going to happen to these decks going forward, the fact that this does affect Atlanta BCS going forward.
There was a lot of criticism for this ban list, though.
Yeah.
I think some of it's warranted. I think some of it's exaggerated.
Mhm.
But first and foremost, I think the biggest one has been the slime one.
Yes, because just for people to know, this is different from what is currently the Japan ban and restriction list, because for whatever reason, slime was not nearly as present or prevalent in their meta during this past year. But now, going back through all the BCSs we've had
They
this
just
year,
have more things in Japan.
yeah, granted they have other worse problems that they are dealing with in their meta. But I mean, if we look at the data from the past BCSs of this year, slime has been popping up a lot in top 8, even more in top 4, and has won several BCSs at this point.
Yep.
So, like, we knew slime was going to get hit at some point. We just didn't know how or what was going to get affected.
What's really nice is with the restriction list, they did release a little article on what they think, what the reasoning behind all of it is. So for slime, they just said that the 2 combos are really good enablers, and the deck has one of the highest conversion rates in bracket.
Yeah, I remember the earlier BCSs where literally at least 4 or 5 of the decks were slime, and we're like, that's strange. Like, no one saw that coming.
I mean, it came out of the gate running. It won the first BCS, I believe, in Toronto. And it just kept that momentum throughout the entire thing. There were some BCSs where, you might not see it in top 8, slime might not be as popular, or, they just bubbled out. But there were also some BCSs where they were just absolute dominant. Like, if you go to Weiss Plains, you see that 3 out of the 4 top 4 were all slime. So there is merit for this. Another thing that I do like about this restriction list is they didn't put any decks down.
No, and I think that's what Intern Kun mentioned in all of his Twitter posts. Like, he didn't want to flat out kill decks. He just wanted to make them less prevalent.
Yeah, which is something that does it feels better if you're an active player who only has one of these decks, or if this is something that you've put a lot of effort into on one of these decks. You're not completely taken out.
Yeah, because if they did a ban of some sort for like slime, for example, and it just like completely, if they just flat out like banned Murin or banned Shizu in some way, it's like that kills so many different decks, and that just really wouldn't be great feeling for players. So I think this was one of the few bans or restrictions they could have done with that kind of like try to create peace really for the players trying to play this set.
I mean, like all in all, like it seems like they didn't want to take a sledgehammer to the meta,
Yeah.
which is what a lot of people were trying to call for.
Oh yeah, because so the I guess we can talk about it now because like the one thing that we thought was going to happen and just didn't happen was Hololive was not touched at all in this set, in this ban and restriction list. And we figured, okay, Gura is still a problem, and it just wasn't touched. Now, they did mention that they're keeping an eye on it, so if something were to happen, say, in either Atlanta or in any other BCSs soon, then they might go back and do like an emergency ban or something. But like, Gura can still, like, Hololive can still just do whatever they want.
I mean, also, so in his article, you know, through each part of the article, you know, he mentions conversion rate being like oh, Slime had over 20% conversion rate
For participants with X2s.
Yes. And you know, as odd as it may sound to some people, Hololive isn't even close.
No, which is like so weird because the second the Hololive 2 came out, everyone's like, this is going to be the most oppressive deck. It's going to be everywhere.
That's if you pay attention only to the Japan meta, and I think that's the problem.
Exactly.
I think Slime is a big part in the Japan meta. They have different sets, and they have different players. And I think that's where this come from. Yes, dying from level 2 by Agura is never any fun. But if that was the case of how good this deck is and what it's doing, it would be a prolific top 8 all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We have Slime players playing. We had the Slime players playing at like 80%. Like, we've seen almost a whole topping just be Slime. We've seen Alice always squeak in no matter what. Like, you can see 7 of 8 be Slime. For some reason, that 8th spot was always the Alice player. Like, even in the top 4, you might see double Slime. You always saw the Alice in the top 4. I think the bans are understandable.
Oh yeah, I think
mean,
so.
the only problem I had with it was that they put 3 things and they made it seem there was going to be a third restriction, but instead it was really just a wrong that was righted, which should have happened way when the first ban that ban was hit.
Yeah.
Which I said earlier.
My problem with this restriction list was it was made to be much larger than it actually is.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, we saw 3 bans,
And we waited like 2 weeks for it.
right.
We had to wait 2 weeks for it, and then we're gonna have to wait another 2 weeks for it to go in effect
Yeah,
in the middle of BCS season. I understand that, you know, this is a mid-season ban, and they think that this is what they need to do.
I think it's more
For it
closer
to
to
be
end of
healthy.
season banned, like they did with Escanor almost.
Sort of.
It's kind of more
yeah.
in that realm.
That's fair, but there's still going to be 2 rather large BCSs that are in North America at least, where this is going to be very relevant.
Yeah.
And that is still technically just like halfway through the North American BCS season.
And you know, I mean, I'm fine with that decision. I mean, go ahead. You have your last chance if you think you can top with these decks. If you can't
Yeah.
do it, then you got to find something else. Because
That's true.
again, if they top with this deck now, they're gonna have to find something different to play in the Worlds.
That's true.
They're gonna have to find something different regardless.
Yeah, because
They're not gonna be seeing them playing these slime decks. You're not gonna be seeing much Alice if you just go to find Worlds because of this restriction. So you have your chance now to top with it.
yeah.
You guys read the Twitter post, right? The really big one.
Oh god.
Did you guys read that?
Yeah, I kind of
Which one?
skimmed it. Yeah, 'cause there were a lot.
There was one. I believe he was talking to Connor. Because Connor Boatstone Sink on Twitter.
Oh yes.
He did mention about like people chewing him out, and we just wanted to know more. So basically, this is what he put. I 100% understand dying from level 2 is an unfun experience, and hate being on the receiving end of the goat and or shark shenanigans too. He said, I'll go into a bit more details and hope it doesn't come back to bite me. So this is what he said. He said, we discussed adding one or both titles to the restriction list, but even knowing the eventual outcome, the data we had on hand at the time of our discussion simply could not support the decision, such as not a conversion rate, as Alejandro said. If we start preemptively hitting what we think will dominate the meta, we would set a dangerous precedent of having to pre-restrict every title. Yes, they did for the Ayame combo, but that was an exception, mainly because Ayame is an unfun experience for anyone to have to deal with before it even comes out. So then he goes in. So the question then becomes, if we didn't restrict those titles, should we have restricted SAO and Slime? This is where our philosophies may differ, but I lean towards yes because I don't believe the list makes either of those decks unplayable. Because it's true. I don't think they do either. As for why certain titles are still on the list, we didn't forget. As much as possible, I have tried to improve transparency, but there are and will always be reasons we cannot disclose. Ultimately, your viewpoint on the list stems from how you approach it in general. If the goal is to nuke every single meta deck, then a new meta deck will always take its place. That to me is simply not viable. That said, I'm not saying this list is perfect, but we generally thought about and discussed all the possible alternatives. If it turns out to be insufficient, we will work on it and improve. I generally hope you and the community will give this a chance. That is probably the last big thing that was supposed to, and it's really nice. Like, he was 100% transparent with the decisioning behind it, and I get it. There was a lot of criticism behind it, and this is how he came out and said it. And I honestly appreciate it, and I hope the players also appreciate that post if you haven't seen it on Twitter. We can also link it in the video.
There will be a screenshot
Yeah.
of everything on it.
So
I
I think it's very important to read that and understand that, there are thoughts, and I get it. If you start hitting just Gura before Gura even hits, I get it. Remember, this is a game they need to make their money somehow.
Of course, yeah.
You can't just preemptively hit a set that everyone's gonna put money into.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it was like something small. Like if someone bought one case of 7 Deadly Sins and they heard Escanor got hit and that's what they wanted to play from the beginning, they're gonna be like, maybe I don't want this so much anymore. It's just not fun for the player who is happy these sets are coming, and then they're like, I can't wait to play this. Oh, it was meta before it came out, so we're hitting it now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's never a fun time.
No, and again, we really should appreciate the fact that Intern Kun was actually very transparent, because this is one of the things we talked about in one of the earlier podcasts we had. Like, we just want Bushiroad to tell us.
We want a little bit more reasoning, and I get it. Like you said, there's things they can't tell us.
Sure,
but just having more insight.
The big thing that this says right now for me is it just seems like there's certain check boxes or ticks that Bushiroad needs to see internally for them to decide to make a decision.
Yeah.
So when we look at large upending ban lists, I think of immediately Data Live.
Yeah.
And when they hit Data Live, not only because for Bro, it was showing insane meta numbers. But not only did they give us a pick 3 off the bat, they also restricted Kurumi to 2 immediately.
Yeah. They didn't give us the event on the ban list though. That was one.
They didn't give My Little Shido, which was fine, and it proved to be whatever for Data Live, because only certain decks were abusing it, i.e., just the standby Kurumi decks.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but then you look at things like Escanor, where people were just upset with what Escanor was doing.
Yeah.
And so they immediately in their midseason cut that in half. So it just shows that they're paying attention to some degree of what is going to be taking over a meta that they just disagree with. But do I think that this was the 100% best ban list or restriction list that they could have released? I don't think so. This may be coming from a personal stance, because I do enjoy playing Slime. And I will admit that Slime was the best deck in the meta, and I think something did need to happen to it. But I do not believe that this was the 100% best ban list that they could have released.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the Slime hit was aggressive. I feel like if I had to choose, the Slime list would be like a pick with 3 different bans, Miran to 2, and then actually a choice restriction of the Shizu and the Shuna. So then you stop the Miran combo you slow it down, but then you also stop the Murons from being overly
You make
powerful.
it from being egregiously large, hex proof, and
if they really wanted to hit the Shizu, that's I think the best way to do it.
So the way I look at it, and I think it feels like a philosophy from what Magic the Gathering does, was they don't hit the power piece unless the power piece is aggressively broken. They want to hit the enablers. And they looked at both Shizu and Murin as 2 aggressively good enablers for the deck.
They are.
And so they said, you can have one or the other, but we're not going to let you have both. Because they say, if you're going to play that level 2 game, Slime has plenty of level 1s or level 0s that you can look at. And they're one of the most flushed out sets in the game for you to be able to have that opportunity to play. Or if you don't care about the level 2 game, you can still have one of the best level 1s they have printed in the history of Weiss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an enabler. That Shizu really makes a difference because like I have played against it without it already. It's just the fact that like you can miss certain pieces now because your one, for example, I played against our friend Tucker. He couldn't get a brainstormer just because he wasn't it was in his drop.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't just play a Shizu, mill the top 2, grab the brainstormer. It also stops itself from just removing. It's essentially you're playing with 4 less cards in your deck when you play Shizu. You're playing with a 46 card deck.
Tell that to Jake.
Yeah.
Regardless of Jake's luck,
Yeah.
if you are playing to basically the point of your deck,
Mm-hmm.
you were probably playing with a 46 less card deck before even going into Muron combos and this putting stocking into searching into keeping a board presence. Like before we even get into that, you're still going to probably remove 4 cards from your deck that plussed you.
And then you add the part that like Shizu could just mill 2 clean cards and check a clean
Exactly.
card. Then you just compress to 9 cards.
Yeah.
You make your cancels clean. It's like this is a justifiable restriction.
It hurts. I think they hit a really large nuke button, and I get it. It also because I think people topped in Slime not just with 8 pans. People were topping
Mhm.
with Slime with 8 pans or 7 pans a book.
7 a
People
book,
were playing
7
the
a
win
win
combo, like
7 choice.
because the level 1 Shizu enabled you to be able to play that. Because it set itself to memory, it enabled the level 3 finisher from set 1, it enabled the book finisher from set 2. It did a lot. It enabled if people played Conqueror Flame Shizu, not Conqueror Flame Shizu, the 3-2 that early plays if you have 2 in memory,
Memories of Japan.
Memory Japan. It enables all these good cards by just existing.
Mm.
And that's the problem.
The big thing is when the 2 things on their mind is like when I look at the top 3 decks in Weiss before this restriction, it was immediately Slime at 1, Sao at 2, and HoloLive at 3.
Yep.
And I don't think anyone could really disagree, maybe mix up a couple of them in some spots, but I think it was those in the top 3. I think Slime happened to be the best out of those 3, personally, because I think it kept the other 2 in check.
Pretty much, because like, so with Alice and Sword Art, yes, technically the way the deck plays, you can still miss your Alice. You can not have a optimal level 1 turn to get your Alices out.
And they even acknowledged that in their restriction post. They said that like we're gonna leave 2 in the deck because with the natural variance of how Weiss is, it's gonna be a lot harder to get your 2 out instead of having your big level 1 board.
Exactly. But with Slime, it was just like you have a level 1 play and then also a level 2 play.
Mm-hmm.
And like you didn't have to overextend to get to that point. You can just play your game naturally and you'll just have it. So like that kind of goes into what Intern Kun said and everyone else said, is that Slime just happened to be hyper consistent and you could just get your pieces so much easier without getting punished.
The big thing is they've now restricted the top deck in Weiss. And now I think it's not going to be the top deck. I think, the players who are still fantastic at Slime are going to be really good with Slime. But you're going to see a lot less representation from this deck. And then for Sword Art Online, once again, it's going to be the same thing, where the best Sword Art Online players are going to be the best Sword Art Online players with Alice. They are going to play a slightly more aggressive mill-through strategy, shuffle back in their couple level 2s, and then get their 2 Alices on level 1 with their 4 stock or whatever means they are able to get through it with.
Mm-hmm.
Then that just leaves HoloLive. HoloLive was able to go unscathed, and he even acknowledged, Intern Kun even acknowledged that, it sucks dying at 2-1. Well, Sword Art Online and Slime were the 2 decks that really weren't going to kill people at 2-1.
No, they're going to try and grind you out and just try and like...
They get that resource attrition value, compression in other areas of the game. And then, once it's at a late 2, a 2-5, 2-6, a 3-1, 3-2, then they're able to end the game a lot more guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that you can't die at 2-1 to those decks. Weiss is a card game, as we've all said. And, things can happen where you will lose those games. But those were the decks that weren't going to end you at 2-1. Things like Overlord could.
Mm-hmm.
Things like Hololive can.
I don't know if Overlord can really kill you at level 2. That's a lot of resources.
That's a lot of resources, but like still, it has the ability to just go, okay, I have 2 ions out. I'm gonna deal one twice, attack for my 3 soul, attack for my 2, and then if they have the goat setup, the full goat setup, deal 1 5 times.
Yeah,
That's a lot of resources. I agree with you.
A pitch 5.
No, I
pitch
agree
5,
with you.
Pitch 5.
I agree with you.
If I die to that, you know what?
They-
Good for him.
Like-
Not even gonna lie.
Like-
If I died to that, he worked for that.
They
True.
hustled for
he
all of
worked
that.
for that. I will not take that away from him.
They ran through, dodged everything.
He went to level 3, had 5 goats.
But like still, then Hololive, they are able to kill you at those mid 2s, sometimes those early 2s. Things like Itsuki. I'm not saying Itsuki's a problem, but like Itsuki could just absolutely end someone's day. It ended. It has ended my day before. And like if I look at like things that have just like absolutely destroyed me, I just go back to Chicago.
Yeah.
Where, round 1, Gura, gone because my cancels were on the deal ones. And then round 2, Itsuki's, because they took away all 4 of my cancels on top of my deck. And so it's just like the decks that they focused in and honed on aren't the decks that are ending games when you're at level 2. They've acknowledged this. And, they said there's closed doors that they can't open for us. And I have to agree with that because we can't look at everything, then we have to ask for everything. But why are you acknowledging that you want everyone to try to play this game as much as you can, try to get to level 3, and then saying, here's this restriction list that's not going to do anything about it?
That's hard because obviously there's just things we're not going to know. And I don't think we'll ever know the reasoning behind it. But it's like, I guess for me, and just from what I've witnessed and seen, Alice and Slime were mostly about like they were consistent decks. So they just made it so that you as a player, like you couldn't really do anything about their game plan. It just made it harder for you to play against it. With like Gura and Overlord, and even with Quince with Itsuki, I guess like that's unlucky, quote unquote. That's just like, oh, like you're canceled in the wrong spot. Sorry, I guess. It's like it's the natural variance of the game, which just feels worse. It feels strictly worse because there's nothing you can do about that. At least with like Alice and Slime, it's like, okay, you can sort of find ways of playing around it because like you're just trying to like work within their restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's harder. It makes it so much harder. And I don't know.
Another thing that kind of like gets at me a little bit with this is they talk about conversion rate a lot, and they mentioned it for almost everything here.
Right.
And I agree that conversion rates do mean a lot when you're looking at a restriction. I think when you look at Hololive though, Hololive was probably one of the more new player friendly sets printed for Weiss. It has a lot of effects, and a lot of people started playing the game because of Hololive.
Oh yeah.
And on top of that, Hololive is one of those sets that has a lot of distinct decks.
Oh God, we talked to our friend Dave W. He could tell us how many different decks he's made.
So like I understand that when they look at conversion rates, they're probably pulling out all the Gura lists and going, how many of the Gura players top 8'd? And they said less than 10% of Gura players top 8'd when they played.
I think I've seen more 8 standby tops than actually.
Yeah. But then like how many Gura players entered the pool? You got to think about that.
Okay, I see what you mean.
There was probably a lot of Gura players that knocked each other out. And then on top of that, just like sometimes just get unlucky. Because I do say a lot that deck is very likely to explode. That deck does just explode a lot.
I think so. The reason why they didn't have Hololive is because they don't want to hit it because it hasn't topped, and there's a reason for that. Because the reason why they talk about conversion rate so much is because there is one specific ban that happened that has a 0% conversion rate right now because of before pre-banned.
Oh, right.
There was the Kaguya ban.
Mm-hmm.
So Kaguya was for example, they banned Data Live because it was so strong. So then they went ahead and also banned Kaguya because Kaguya was coming from Japan as one of the best 0 packages to exist, and is going to and has one of the best finishers at that point.
Thank you, Chica.
Like that Kaguya finisher, they were like these 3 zeros enabled the deck. I mean, you played your 12 slots were clean cut runner, Ricky with a power buff, and then the drop searcher that bounces the hand for your standby trigger, so you can give something plus 2k.
That was a miserable 2 months that you
So
went
they
unchained.
they hit it because they were like, well, we're hitting Data Live and we don't want Kage to do anything, and everyone was like, why? It has no tournament scene, has not seen any play. Why are we hitting that? So I think because of that, they took them a while to hit MT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took it MT topped a lot too, but they couldn't just hit it as coming in as a powerful deck because the precedent of what happened with Kage, they want good reasoning behind it. Because yes, you can say Japan, them coming in from Japan, it was like it's a strong meta. Kage definitely had the edge over a lot of things, especially with MT coming out.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want to put that precedent anymore because that means they're not really looking at this game, and they're only looking at what Japan comes in,
Yeah.
and that's what they are trying to avoid. So they don't want that. So I think that's why Gura hasn't been hit because it hasn't topped. And also, yeah, we could just hit Gura because we think it's a strong combo. We all have experienced Gura, but
Bruh.
in the eyes of people playing in tournaments right now, Gura hasn't done anything. It hasn't done enough for the president to be like.
It's got half a dozen tops or something,
So-
which is
Yeah.
healthy for this late in the tournament.
Right. So
Right.
I think the fact that Kage went hit with a 0% conversion rate of not even seeing a tournament, because it's true, I couldn't even play a tournament with me being unbanned. It was the worst feeling because I was like, oh, they hit it in Japan. It was like not too soon after I saw the hit in English. We just finished, bro, with Data Live pounding literally everything.
Oh, yeah.
Like they could have just hit Data Live on that ban list. Instead, they hit Kaguya too. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, the thing is it sucks. Kaguya paid for Kurumi's sins.
Yeah.
Kaguya
but
absolutely
it wasn't
did.
even that because Kaguya wasn't even in those tournaments.
Yeah, of
really.
course. But when they talk about conversion rate, I think there's also another thing to be said where it's when they said, "Oh, Slime had a 20% conversion rate for those who played it." A lot of people did converge that Slime was the best deck in the format.
Right.
You should also look at the player pool that was on Slime though, where it's just there are multiple former world champions or world champion qualifiers who had played Slime, but jumped ship maybe from the other best deck, which was maybe Quince at the time or Hololive or something like that. So you look at the conversion rate. You look at the conversion rate of the best players
Mm-hmm.
potentially playing the best deck. Of course, it's going to be high. And then you say that it's around 20%. I mean, unless it's an unrealistic number, I kind of put that in a healthy meta standpoint, where it's just sometimes there's always going to be a best deck. They've acknowledged that there's always going to be a best deck, and if they were to ban something, there's going to be a next best deck, and they said that they don't like that. They don't want that to exist.
Right.
But I think it's just if you're going to bring up conversion rates, you should look behind the reason the conversion rates are higher. Are some of the best players in the world playing this deck because they have agreed that it's a very good deck, or it's what's going to be Alice and Gura and Overlord because it's well suited for those, or is it just Escanor, where a lot of people just put out there, this is the most brainless thing in the world. All I have to do is bounce someone's thing back and attack with 2 Escanors, and I have won the game. So
Yeah.
maybe look into the reason of those, where it's you're both just kind of avoiding to go to level 3. And then they mentioned the same thing with Alice. It's just the conversion rate is just I think a lot of the best Weiss players, or a lot of the higher echelon of skilled Weiss players, just reached this agreement of these are some of the best decks in the format. I'm going to continue to play the best deck in the format and get really good at the best deck in the format.
I do agree with that, because that's actually what I figured was going to happen the beginning of the season, was that once I hate thinking this way, where once the very first tournament goes up and then the results get posted of, oh, here are some of the best decks, people tend to just copy and paste the best decks and just oh, well, this is just the best deck. I'll just do well. But that probably does happen. That probably did happen this season, especially with some of the more powerful sets coming out in the past couple of months. We're okay, if after the first BCS, we're okay, Slime wins, you see a high conversion rate, and you're oh, well, obviously the Slime must be good, so we're just gonna keep playing Slime. But it's just I feel it can't just be conversion rate, especially because we've had a higher turnout for this game in the past several months. the fact that both Houston and New York were 173 players, like that's huge considering like how many people we've had in the past. And then so like 20%, well, but not saying 20% of 173, but 20% of the players that played Slime within those 173, like that could be a higher number than it ever has been. So like who knows like how important that data is, but
I would appreciate if Bushiroad were to release like a meta breakdown map themselves
I would love that actually.
instead of like us having to hunt it down, scan Alex's QR code, submit a thing, and be like, "Hey, this is what I played." Like, I would appreciate something along the lines from Bushiroad to be like, "Hey, by the way, Slime was 45% of the entrances. Can you play something else?"
Yeah, 'cause,
Like,
that is actually something. So I mean, Intern Kun, if you listen to this, that's something I do want to ask. Like, is that one of the things you can't tell us? Is like, okay, is that like personal information that we can't figure out or that we're not allowed to know? But or because we could just see the numbers. Like that would be great because then we actually like talk about this. We can talk about all the stats and whatever. It'd be like a cool discussion point to have later.
it's I imagine it's a lot of compiling that they can't do with the amount of people they have working on, because they'd have to filter through all 100 plus people working on it, not just for the North American events, but probably the short-staffed international events that they're doing as well.
True.
Because it's just like you have to have this be accurate, or else you're messing up everyone's data.
That's true.
And so it's just like the only place that has access to all this is Bushiroad, or unless all 173 applicants or participants are actively finding that QR code. I've forgotten to scan that thing like 5 times. Like someone has to send me it, and I go, oh, okay, here we go. Like, and like unless everyone's doing that, which I can guarantee you they're not. We're kind of in the dark.
Yeah, that's the sad point.
It's like we say, oh yeah, if you go to the top tables, a lot of them were Slime. It's like, how many of them entered with Slime though? It's just like
that's a thing.
I think it does play a point. I mean, and I think that's why I think that's why they talked about conversion rate. I guess they could assume like if 20% of Slime is converged, yes, 20% looks low, but I think it's because maybe half the population was playing Slime. I mean, I've watched people go through how many Slime matches. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one who hasn't played Slime in tournament.
Man, I played against it twice.
Our friend Tucker, after I think he got 2-0, he only saw Slime.
Yeah, he saw it 6 times.
6 times in a row.
Yeah, 6 times.
And it was like, the person who played, we even have bro numbers for that. Remember the guy who played 7 Deadly Sins?
Oh,
he played
Alice,
how many times in that tournament?
Yeah, exactly.
I think there was like only like one.
I think
round.
it was Psychono.
Yeah, it was like one round where he didn't play.
Also,
Alice.
remember the when Data Live, that guy who won,
the guy who
won
played Beaufort because
Beaufort.
Yes, because he faced 6 Data Lives.
Disgusting.
And then his top 8 was 1 off Data Live and 2 Data Lives.
Yes, like I think it's the thing. It's like, yes, we can't see those numbers, but it's probably because there was a large group of people playing these decks. Like 50% is kind of rough, but like if 40, like 30, if you have like 40,
I can imagine that it was at most for one event, at most a third. I think it never passed a quarter of the participants.
Yeah, because they were playing Alice.
Yeah, of course, because they
were playing the other half.
There was Alice and Gura, and
even then, I feel like Gura wasn't enough, because I think a lot of people, like you say, Jake, Gura blows itself up.
Gura
if you
want
to take the risk of, because people I think want to play Gura because they would go, maybe I can just kill my opponent from level 2, but if you don't, you die.
You are scared. You are scared when you do not.
Yes, when you do not kill your opponent from the part where you go 3 Gura and live.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you run out of crayons, it's rough.
But remember, there are still variants even with Gura. It can mill a non-soul sign, and I've watched Gura players cry when that happens. I've seen their look. They're like,
oh, well, there goes all my math.
And then you cancel on the 1, and they're like,
well, there it is.
Off of the 4 swing. Yeah. The Gura player is like, well, I lose because I pushed myself to 3, blind stocked my climaxes off the Ame the turn before.
Never happened when I played Gura. I just die whenever I play Gura.
But
True.
It just explodes,
I've seen it
I
happen.
say.
I think that's the thing. It's just like, I feel like people have tested Gura and saw that it sometimes just implodes on itself, and why do that when you could play something like Alice and Slime, which do not implode on itself that often, unless you're Jake, who cannot send his cards to memory.
That's also true.
But even when he does, my thing is, here's the thing. even when he doesn't send on the memory, that deck is still consistent because he still got the combo off.
Yeah, it still works.
Because
Yeah.
the combo happened.
Or it worked.
Yeah, I think on average, Jake, whenever I play against you, you always have 8 stock by turn.
But the thing is,
3.
even if he does, the thing is sometimes I've watched it miss the level 1, but sometimes he was just able to remove the Shizus. And you just go, you're on. I got it. We did
Once
it.
you go to Miron, if you get 2 Miron turns in a row, it's just absolutely
Yeah.
brutal.
There's just a lot of value
Yeah.
in that pile.
So
There's just
I
there's
think-
just lots of value.
I think
regardless.
it's nice that they
Yeah.
didn't just ban the Brainstorm Alice as much as me personally would be like, ban it. If I look at it from a player standpoint, I'm like, makes sense.
Did you see on their thing what they said about that? They're like, we could have done more to this, but you can have one lane if they get both of theirs out.
Honestly,
Hey,
listen.
listen. On reverse combos are live.
Let's go.
I can listen, you could play cards that could swing into that lane. I was saying I would play Psychono still. I'll swing into that empty lane with one of my Mega Means if I have to.
and cry.
No, I won't even cry. Guess what? We will, as long as that I can at least loop one set of that combo. We're live.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I think I'm not happy with this ban list, and I think anyone who gets hit by a ban list is just never going to be happy. But I think they still could have done more.
There's always more.
Well, so that's the thing, right? I mean, there's plenty of people online who just aren't happy with the hits that were made, and there's.
I also don't think this means you can attack Intern Kun on Twitter. It's
Yeah,
like
not
they are
my-
not.
Well,
the-
yeah.
my
They are
boy.
not the only one making decisions on this game.
Exactly.
There's plenty of people online who are not happy about it, but I mean, if we're gonna be fair, not everyone's gonna be happy with whatever list they put out.
Have you
Right.
ever seen Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah.
Right
I've
now,
watched
listen.
people cry because they spent $100 on a playset of cards, and now it went to 25 because
Yep.
the ban list hit.
Now, I mean, to be fair, right? When it comes to like these lists that drop, I forgot.
Darn it. It's because you got interrupted. It's fine. They started talking. You're so
my
ready.
Gosh.
It's because you were ready to have your point, and they were ready. They were ready to just give you your soapbox to stand on,
Oh my
and they just took it away from you, Alejandro. That's what happened.
I forgot.
No.
Oh no, Jason's getting up.
Jason,
Oh,
come back.
Jason's getting up. Oh, he's walking away. Jason is walking away from his
No,
microphone stand.
There
he
he
is.
goes.
Not
he
doing
is-
this anymore?
He is laying
not
on
not
the
doing this
sofa.
anymore. The one time this has happened.
Oh
okay.
my
Yeah,
goodness!
wait.
I can't believe it. Jason has quit Weiss Schwarz.
Yeah, go cry me a river.
Oh no! This ban list has made Jason quit Weiss Schwarz.
You know what? It's funny because I feel like
Inadvertently, of course.
Maybe if he wasn't sitting the way he went.
I'm just chilling. I'm not doing anything.
I'm sure he's
Oh
he's
my-
fine.
Alejandro, for those.
Listen, Jason
for-
is my biggest hater.
So-
Jason
Alejandro,
is my biggest hater.
Alejandro is sitting in a hoodie with both of his arms out of the sleeves and just tucked in underneath the
I'm chilling.
the body part of it. So
Yeah.
he is a nice, warm, cozy boy
I'm
right
comfy.
now. Yeah,
I'm very
he's
comfy.
very cozy.
Like I said, Jason's my biggest hater.
Jason is still away from his mic. He
No,
is,
right, no, it's fine. We don't need him for this part right now. We don't need him. No, because like basically, I mean, I guess we sort of got what your point was, Alejandro. About
I don't even
Did
remember
we?
what my point was.
Did we?
I don't even. Yeah, because you. Not gonna say it. Not gonna say it. Not gonna say it because I don't want to make more work for Jake.
That's true.
Like,
Well, thank you, Alejandro.
So listen, right? Nobody like there's not going to be a reality where one of these lists drops and everyone's going to be like, "Yay! Yay!
Yeah.
Oh my god, this was so good." But also,
unless it was Alice, we all were like, "Yay!"
I mean,
yeah. Oh my gosh, it was so good.
Pretty
Unless it was
much.
Alice.
I'm
Only Alice.
a Marine band a year ago. Yay!
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
It was, listen, right? But regardless, there's still going to be like that 1% that's like, well,
Well, yeah, because
I
obviously,
am not happy. I don't think
I'm a Marine main.
Yeah, I'm not happy
what
about
about
this at
all
all.
those people out there who have max rarity Marines? Like, well, now I can't use these.
The
now.
people
that-
out there who spent $10,000 on Marine.
Yeah,
This is
actual pay to
like-
win. Like
Nice.
it's fine. It's like there's literally no world where there's ever going to be a ban list where everyone's happy. It's just not, because if there's a ban list where everyone's happy, the card never should have been printed in the first place. Which is going back to Jason's point a while ago about like a card being insta banned before it's even released here. That's what happened to Ayame, where it's
Well,
like
that needed to be hit.
yeah, and Engine can even said that literally this should be a once in a blue moon type situation where like, oh, we're sorry, we screwed up. This needs to go.
Sokka did not get hit.
That's, you know what, that's true, and God bless, because even though
Sokka did not get hit.
it's like I think
It's the
Avatar's
only
had like
thing keeping Avatar in top
Bar
8.
standby has been a
So-
consistent play because the Azulas just sacking the Sokka and going into, or just sacking or hitting a standby over the Sokka into a top combo while Bar is out. Yeah, it just does things.
It
Yeah,
has
it
been
just
the
does things.
only thing keeping
And, like,
Avatar in top 8 lists.
granted, like people out there saying that Sokka is broken, he hurts you every time it happens. There's a higher chance of him just flat out killing you by accident because you just keep clocking yourself. So I mean, if you want to keep doing the combo, by all means, you're just putting yourself to like.
Well, I mean, that's
two-
that's the fundamental difference between Sokka and Ayame.
Yeah.
One hurts you and the other one doesn't, and lets you attack 6 times
It
with
also
3
does-
soul
it
unabated.
does just play like 3 of them for free.
Yeah,
Sokka
exactly.
played 1.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
like-
Ayame did play 3.
Ayame Hologra ruined that card for us. So
Yeah.
like it's just like that card kind of automatically just made the deck better, and it put Weiss in a state where they didn't want the game to be played like that.
yeah.
They
It was,
didn't want 6 attacks for 3+ soul at level 1, forcing your opponent to go to level 3 with 3 stock and die because of it.
Yeah. That was a time where a card made you not actually play correct Weiss Schwarz. Like that shouldn't happen.
Talk about never play correct white. We don't even play correct white shirts now.
Okay, is it
That's
because
fair.
we're illiterate, Jason? That's different.
It has nothing to do with us being illiterate.
Oh, okay.
You
Dying
read
from-
your cards?
Dying
Oh.
from level 1 is awful.
That's also just because all of our climax are at the bottom of our decks.
Variance, man. Variance.
My if I were to change like one, like if they were like kept this restriction list the same, if I were to change like one big thing about this though, it would be the whole announcement into reveal thing.
I can kind of see that, mostly because we had to wait.
I think the problem, I have never stressed this more, is I don't mind their announcements. It's nice to speculate, but I don't want my announcement to have one of them being a revision. That's
Actually,
my problem with them
I-
revealing it. That one of them was a revision where, because they could have just said maybe things are coming off. You know, maybe we're taking the, because again, MT was just removed. They could have put that in the thing saying unbanned.
Revisions
Like,
or like
You know,
changes to the current
I don't-
ban list.
I don't
Yeah.
need something that I feel like is new, not new, because it should have been there when it first
'Cause
came out.
It felt like we were getting 3 brand new things.
And we got 2,
we got 2.5 things.
2, not even a half.
We
I
got
don't
2.25
That
things.
not
Yeah,
even
one
a
of-
quarter. It
one
is
of-
just 2. That does that ban. I don't even. I
He
makes
is
me
illiterate.
mad.
Yeah, he's
Jason is
It
missed.
makes me mad every time I see it. I don't even consider that being a ban. I love you, Intern Quinn. This wasn't your fault. It should have happened the first time this way. It just sucks it took up that slot. It was just there. I'm mad.
It's because he wanted Kaguya back. That's really what it is.
Honestly, it's fine where it is. You can't unban those cards.
Okay, that's fair.
You cannot. Because if you unban those cards, people can still play Standby Door. The problem with Standby Door is she's a tiny little 5K.
Yeah, that
With-
means literally
with-
nothing nowadays.
With the Chica and the Eye, you can at least buff it to a 9K. That gets over a lot of other things without being reversed on.
Hey, it's okay. They gave you a lane. You can have 1 lane.
Yeah,
One lane.
One lane.
that's
One
even
lane.
harder to do still. She's just a 5K. I look at those stupid Melodiuses and I'm like, damn, I can't reverse those.
No.
They're 6/5s.
That's true. Yeah.
That needs at least 1 eye just to bounce over. And you know, if I can face the one guy playing the 1/1 Merlin backup, and there I go.
And you're like, well, you got
there
me
I
there.
am.
So the one takeaway is just like they said that they're clearly watching everything. They have very much said that they are watching all the tournament results. I'm hoping that this means we're gonna get some better updates on this ban list with upcoming tournament results.
Probably before Worlds.
So
I would assume
either
so.
either before Worlds or like slightly after Worlds,
Unless we don't see Hololive Top.
right before like Springfest, so we can get things to prepare for. You know, a shakeup in the meta because this does get boring. This game does get repetitive a lot.
You don't want to just go walk in, say hi, slime player.
Hi, hello, slime player.
Hello, other slime player.
Wait, how'd you know?
I mean, what's nice is that it's these restrictions come at I wouldn't say like a regular interval, but like they're regular enough.
We get one like every 4 to 5 months or something like
what's
that.
nice. I mean, it'd be what would be nicer if they were like, oh yeah, the next revision will be in this time frame. I mean, they don't have to give us an exact like month.
They're
or
like,
anything
hey,
like
we're
that.
gonna look at the remaining BCSs and Worlds and
Yeah.
see if we can change anything to make the game more enjoyable. And I would like something that like continually updated the state of Weiss. I don't think like with this article, I don't think it would take them too long to be like, hey guys, we've looked at the meta. We think it's A-okay. And then they could give the reasonings. We could look at the data behind it.
November 24th hits first tournament. Is that 8 Gura?
What? See,
Wait a minute.
Well, I mean,
yikes.
when you hit, what Jake would say, 2 of the 3, right, and then you leave the third one alone, you can kind of maybe expect something like that to happen. I mean, not to that extreme, of course.
I will say,
I hope not.
I will say, for you,
Gurga's one top 8. That's it.
this is huge for you. This opens up the door for Quince so much.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, for you
it
two,
does.
for both Jason and Alejandro.
I'm not playing another base.
The door for Quince has
Yeah.
been not even that, but
Shut your mouth. Stop
Like-
talking about how this opens the door for us.
It-
We're not
it-
playing another BCS, and you know that.
it just
I don't
like-
know why you're bringing it up. We can move on because we all know this is not what we're playing for Springfest. We're gonna do something stupid like we always do.
Yeah, we're gonna.
So just whatever your thought is, lose it like Alejandro did. Enough.
So we're gonna listen. Springfest comes around. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna play some
Guilty Gear?
random stuff.
Lico Rico. I really hope to make someone burn 2 6 times off that May from Guilty Gear.
I cannot
All right,
wait.
yeah. If we want to
That's
talk
for
about,
another day.
I mean, we want to talk about guilty.
We don't
Gear
want
real
to talk
quick?
about the whole set's not out yet, so we're holding it in. But I just had to mention that burn 2 6 times is really funny.
God,
And you can give it to whoever you want.
Yeah, including yourself.
Yeah.
true. So I guess, God, going back to like Jake's initial
No, we're not.
point. not that
No.
point. A different point. It's a different point.
I swear, you say open the door.
No,
I'll close it.
No. Oh, God, hold the door. No, it's about the fact about like the fact that you hit the best 2 decks and then you leave the third one, then that leaves. Nope, Jason, don't look at me
Leaves
like
what?
that. Nope.
Leave what?
It leaves space for there to be like a power vacuum. Like no. So basically, so you have like
This ain't
okay,
house cleaning.
He's trying
That's-
so hard not to say
I
it.
know.
He's trying so hard not to say it. I want to punch him.
what? Listen,
This essentially leaves
It's-
room for other decks.
yes, it leaves.
It's that simple. You don't
Yeah.
have to say open the door.
You're right. No, but it's most. It's
But he
most.
plays bar.
Shut up, Alejandro.
He doesn't play door.
No, but you're right. You're absolutely right. It's the fact that now that's more than likely, quote unquote, that Alice is not going to be played as much anymore. There's a good chance that Slime's going to be played as not in this iteration. But so we also imagine that.
Stand by, baby.
I mean, yeah.
Hey man,
there-
Becomes Benny Maru.
There has been
Oh, no, Venus.
been a Shizu and
Maru.
Alice shaped hole in the meta.
yeah, exactly. So now that there's this hole, more than likely, like there'll be more Gura players. More than likely, maybe there's more.
There's a lot of fish in the sea, isn't there?
Listen,
I see. That's bad. That's real bad.
man. Here's the thing, right? I promise you, the moment these restrictions came out, people got to cooking.
I hope. I mean,
People 100% got to cooking.
cooking.
Yeah, because
cooking
they had
fish.
to fix their slime ducks.
They had to fix their slime decks. They got to be like, all right, can it still work with 2 Alice?
I mean, I saw that they just threw two. I saw a list where they're just like, "Oh, hey, I did a new Alice deck," and they just they threw in 2 more money counters, and they're like, "Done."
Oh,
They're just
okay.
like-
Honestly,
Is
you
it
might be
bad?
onto something.
Is it bad? That's exactly what I thought what you were supposed to do.
So
There, I said, "Wow, I have 2 more slots." Do I just play two more money counter?
Alice doesn't like. It's just like, oh no, I lose one lane, but like I play another character. I play my choice climax again.
So here's the thing. What I was saying. So like the difference. I will tell you the big difference. So imagine playing your deck. You have 6 cards left in deck and 2 Alices. You brainstorm once. You don't hit the Alice. You actually look at your opponent and get up. You actually will look at your opponent and just walk off.
You're just like,
Because I was thinking about it. I was like, it really does suck. Because like the point is, Alice players would play 4 and they would go down to like the bare minimum of their deck. But that's because they can shuffle in the 4 back and get 2, 3. Now you have to go down to a less amount of cards with only 2, and then you brainstorm and don't hit 1. If you don't see 2 on your brainstorm, and you have to, the problem is you have to see at least 2, probably.
So you
depending on deck state.
So you have to go down to like 5 cards in deck. You have to go down to like 5 cards in deck. You have to shuffle in the 2. You have to brainstorm the first time. You gotta hope you hit on the brainstorm, and then if you hit 2, you gotta play your other brainstorm.
To put the 1 back.
To put the 1 back in
with another card.
With
you
another
have to shuffle
card.
2 back in.
And
so
then
you go back to
and then you
4.
could brainstorm again. You could hypothetically miss with 2 cards
So
left
now
in deck.
you have to waste another stock to play that second Alice.
So just on this like bare bones situation we have described, that is 4 stock you've just paid.
And you took a reforge point damage and don't really have much of a drop.
You
to
have
salvage
like
off your combo.
2 cards in clock to do it.
That is the problem. You need to be able to hit both Alices in a good deck state without missing.
So this falls under like the good Alice players are still going to be insane and get double Alice. And it's gonna
They're
suck
also
when you do
going to brainstorm 3 and hit 0 and have 3 cards left in deck.
But it is now not a beginner user-friendly deck anymore.
No, absolutely not.
You cannot just like brainlessly go, I'm down to 4 cards left in my deck. First brainstorm, get an Alice. Second brainstorm, get an Alice.
Now I can go get a 10th any deck for $50. I hope someone's selling it for that much.
Actually, we really should have done like a market watch to see like, okay, how many people just like, instantly sold their
Oh my gosh,
sets?
Shizus are back down again.
let's go. Listen, reverse combos, they up. Okay,
Let's go.
They up.
they up.
They up.
Probably.
No, they're gonna be reversed. The card themselves.
Oh,
Looking
okay.
at those Alices.
True.
No, not one of them.
No.
Sorry.
Not one of them.
They actually leave that lane open.
Yeah,
Listen, you think-
they bombed that lane.
Yeah.
Fubu's coming back.
See,
Oh,
What's who reverse saying? The empty lane?
Hey,
Huh?
I'm,
The
I'll,
empty
I'll
lane?
play
Oh,
a
if
card. Like, hey, opponent, put a card right there.
They're like-
Put a 0 right there, right now.
No.
why would I?
And then I'm calling a judge
For what?
for cheating.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
you're the one getting hit by the judge.
No, they're cheating. They're the ones that are cheating.
Oh, okay.
I mean, so with that, I think that's all of our collective opinions on this ban list. I think that's like we think that this could have been better. It's not the worst one they've released.
No.
Honestly,
It could have been the Quince one from forever ago. It could have been that.
listen, I looked at Limit 2. I said, why are they going to hit Nino like this?
Listen,
Yeah.
I was saying, I would rather, I'm back on this third freaking thing about the third ban list being that escort. I was like, I would have preferred them hit me with the choice ban they have on Psychono than me look at the revision. I just hate it so much every time I look at it.
So with
God.
that, I think it's just like that's kind of all we have to say on this matter. This has just been a tangent of our opinions on this ban and restriction list. I think that we could go so much more into this and say dumber things, or with Alejandro not say dumber things, and just forget those dumb things.
I mean, I'm pretty sure at this point it would just be Jason going off on a total rant.
I really hope that Bushiroad keeps up this high transparency that they say they're doing. And maybe extend beyond that, just so the players don't feel forgotten about for 4 months until we get our 10 minutes of, hey, here's your sets and the meta kind of sucks. Here's your update. Because this is the first one since the Quince revision, right? Since they hit Quince again.
No, the last one was the Ayame and something else, I believe.
Well,
Oh,
the
the
Ayame.
Excalibur. Yeah, no, it was. I think it was Ayame and something else.
Well, those were
was
two
it?
like weird one-off things because they just decided to clean up wording and they emergency banned something
The
that
last
shouldn't
one
have
was
existed.
was it Nino?
I thought it was the Nino, the third card.
Oh, I guess that's right. They did put the third card.
Yeah, it
on
was the
there.
third card. So I think it's just like it feels better than that because it feels like it'll meaningfully like change something. But with that, only time will really tell us what this restriction's going to do.
Yeah. So I don't know if you have the list of BCSs left, because I know Mexico's happening right now.
Yeah.
And then we have
At the time of recording.
at the time of recording, BCS Mexico's happening. It should be finishing up soon-ish. And then we have BCS Atlanta in December 3rd.
Yes.
And then we don't really have that much left after that.
We have Los Angeles after that.
Then we have Los Angeles.
We have Los Angeles. We should have. I think there's 1 or 2 more international events as well. But beyond that, it's just like we're not gonna really see too much in terms of the impact of this. I think it should have come out maybe 2 or 3 weeks before, and gone into effect sooner.
Yeah.
Just so we could, have a little bit more like concrete data before we go into Worlds. But we also have cards that they haven't revealed yet for our meta. Specifically, because like Guilty Gear is on the horizon.
I cannot wait.
And for Worlds we're gonna have Spy Family legal.
Also can't wait for that.
And then after Worlds we're gonna have Chainsaw Man, Lico Rico, the other Bang Dream. We're getting more of every set, effectively, with extra boosters.
Yeah, actually.
So it's just like they might know something that and not might know something. They definitely know things that we don't.
They cooking.
That we don't know what these cards are going to do. There might just be a thing that just says if a Gura enters the field, throw it across the table or something like that. Like
I'm waiting for the actual Exodia of just having all 5 pieces out and be like, oh, all right, I guess I win.
It exists.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's true. That's Batman Ninja.
No, Quince.
Oh,
Mhm.
oh, God, whatever. Okay, sure.
So with that, I think we really can't say. Oh no, Jason's just demoralized. He just looks so defeated.
He's just
now.
shaking his head in silence. He's like, oh man.
Like with that, I don't think we can go more into that.
Mm-mm.
And we gotta hope for the best for the future.
Yep. So hopefully we'll see the outcome of Mexico soon, and then we'll see.
Mexico?
Yeah.
Avocados.
Avocados.
Yeah.
And then hopefully we'll see what happens at Atlanta, because that's when the ban list will be in effect. So we'll see what happens.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening to this episode of the Stock Pot. Do look out in the future. We are planning some extra content for you guys, so we will hopefully. I don't know if we'll put it out on Twitter or anything
We're gonna
else.
play some card
Shut up,
games right
Brandon.
now.
We say this. We say this every stock pod.
We're gonna go play this. We're gonna play some card games right now after this. It's literally set up right there above you.
All
What's
right.
nice is the microphones are right there already.
All right. Well,
That's
I'm
true.
gonna go save Jason from the conniption that he's having in the corner. So, so long. We'll see you next time.
Okay, goodbye.
See ya. Remember to like and subscribe.
Goodbye.
Hey everyone, this is Brandon. Thanks for watching another Stockpot. If you enjoyed our video, please like and subscribe to the channel for more Weiss content. Remember to follow us on social media and look out for our next video. May all the cancels be at the top of your deck.
And I didn't understand that you